Hello, it's Steve, and this is our sustainable journey. Today, we got all the gear out. We are going to finally get around to sifting. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. So we're gonna go through the CFTs. I'll show you how we sift, what we use, the tools that we use, and we'll get a scale on it and see what comes of it, how much sifted castings we end up getting from one CFT. All right, stay tuned. Let's take a look and see now that they're all moved back into the barn. I need to align them a little bit. May do that with the tractor. May do that with dollies and stuff. But they survived the trip. There was one accident. We knocked over one of them. Oh, look at that healthy population of fungi and worms living in harmony. So we're going to start sifting. So I'm going to sift these two. They're about, so if you look, right? So it's about halfway up, maybe 2/3 of the way up. This one's the same. So you can see we're about 2/3 of the way up. And if you remember from the build, what's underneath is conduit. So there's conduit pipe underneath going all the way across, spaced out about 2 inches, a little under 2 inches. And so what you want to do is you want to use a cultivator tool like this, or I use a big one, which I don't have in here. So I'll have to go grab that. I use a big one because, you know, these are 8 foot long. It takes a little while. So if you had a smaller version of this, you could just use one of these hand ones. For the bigger ones, I use the standard 4 foot garden cultivator tool, and you scrape the bottom. And so what you're doing is you're scraping the bottom, so you can see about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches worth of stuff, and you're going to scrape it from around the pipe to pull it down into your cement mixing trays, and I'll show you those in a second. And in other types of CFTs, what people will use is a winch. So you can hook a winch up to, like, think of like a boat winch that you'd put on a trailer when you're pulling your boat out of the water. You'd winch it up. So those types of winches, not like the kind on a car where you can pull thousands and thousands of pounds, because you don't need to pull that much weight. And so what it would do is it would start over there. There's like a cutting blade mounted up about 1 inch from the bottom, and it would just pull across and cut everything, and it would all fall down through the pipes at the bottom. I didn't incorporate those because I was trying to do this as low cost as possible, but that's another option for harvesting your castings if you wanted to incorporate something like that into your CFTs. And so we are going to start the scraping process on these two. The other ones, I mean, you can see this one's only up like 1/3 of the way because, you know, as the stuff is eaten away, it goes down. This one is about to here, and so same thing, about 1/3. And this is the one that got knocked over. So this one needs a little bit of TLC to bring it back. We scooped everything up and put it back in here, but it happens. But this whole thing fell over, and it didn't break. So there's no cracks, there's no damage. It literally toppled on its side. Everything spilled out. It was a great big mess. It was fun. So we got it all back in there, but I want to give them some time before we start scraping away at the bottom of this one. So we'll leave the rest of these a few more weeks and just let them build. Because what's going to happen is when we take that bottom inch or two, and I'll show it to you when it happens, but it's going to sink down on the inside. The inside drops. It's kind of cool to see. Usually takes a day or two for it to fall. But in these ones, I don't want them to fall that far, because especially the one that tipped over, because it needs to, you know, the worms need to figure out which way's up again. And so I don't want to scrape if they're on the bottom after being flipped around and everything. So I'm going to leave that one for a couple of weeks. And these other ones are kind of low anyway, because they're the newer ones. They've only been going for a month or two. So we'll let these worms, you can see them all. We'll let these worms do a little bit more eating and move up a little bit, so they're not quite as feverish in the eating as these other two, the two oldest bins. So yeah, let me go get my cultivator tool and we'll start scraping. Okay, so the tools of the trade. So I have two cultivator tools here. These are just the standard, whatever size this is, I have no idea. One's from Menards, one's from God only knows when. It's really old. And then I got one of these. We use it in our garden for pulling weeds and stuff. I'm gonna give this one a try too. I don't know if it'll be able to split between, it might be too narrow to split between the pipes, but if we're gonna give it a shot, at least that one little piece sticking out might help. And then what we put underneath are cement mixing trays. So I have 4 of them because that's how many fit underneath these CFTs. And we put those underneath. They're called cement mixing trays, mortar trays. Yeah, those are, I think, the only 2 names. And so what we do is we put those on the ground underneath, and that'll catch all the stuff as we're scraping from underneath, which you'll see in just a minute. And then the other thing I use is a creeper, which is the worst name nowadays for anything, but it's called a creeper. And this allows you to lay down underneath the CFTs, essentially, so it's a little bit easier to scrape. Not necessary, but man, it makes my life easier. So I will start here on this one, and we'll climb underneath it and start scraping. All right, the way I do it is I start on one end and kind of go one line at a time, so you can kind of see. Got a flashlight here so it's a little bit brighter. So you can see, we'll just do one line or one space between pipes all the way down to the end. So it's 8 feet long, so it's going to be a little bit. So I will see if I can show you this. Hold the flashlight, the camera, and the tool, and start scraping. And so you can see all the stuff that starts coming down. And not everything is going to fall down easily. So that's what we're looking to do. Just scrape it, and then it falls down into here. And this is, so something to think about. This is like step 1 of 2. So then after this, we're gonna put it over on the sifter, and that'll sift out anything else. And then the solid stuff will go back into the top of the CFTs. So this isn't the final product. Some people use this as the final product, and you certainly can. It's been processed pretty darn good, but not all of it is ready. What I would consider quality castings. gourd of some sort, so that's gonna get stuck. From a while ago, that would be from what, November, December of last year. That's probably been floating around up there and just can't get it through. So we may have to break that apart in order to get it through. Well. All right, so you get the idea. You can see the stuff that's coming down. A lot of wood louses in there. Oh, because this is all the hemp. You can actually see some of the hemp come through. And I can smell it. So I will continue on sifting through to the other side. And then we'll start sifting through the actual sifter. From each section, so there's going to be 4. You should get a tray approximately like this, full of castings. I don't know how well that's going to show up. Let's get some light on it. So, looks pretty good. Certain things don't break down as easily. You see eggshells. I saw some pumpkin seeds. There's bone. Bones, like chicken bones and stuff. And sometimes plastic gets into the shreddings, and so you get these stupid little leftover things. I don't know if you can see that. But think of like the envelope. Stupid cellophane stuff doesn't break down. But then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this and we're gonna do one more sift on it, right? Another chicken bone. Using our Brockwood Worm Shifter. I absolutely love this thing. It handles everything we throw at it. I've had it for a couple of years. It's got 3 basic sorts, right? I don't know if you can see underneath here, but there's this main drop, which is where your castings come out. The second one is where the babies come out, the cocoons. And then the final one that drops out the end is all the big stuff, right? So you've got different sizes. You can see small, the medium, and then there's the jumbo stuff. I personally don't separate out the cocoons. I'll show them to you once we've sifted some stuff, so you can see what it looks like. But I don't, because we don't sell worms. We want all the worms back doing the work. So we'll get this thing turned on, fire it up, and we'll sift some castings. Before we begin, I want to show you the sifting mechanism on the Brockwood, right? So you've seen the 3 sorts, small, medium, large. What's important to understand is that this sifter only works well with dry material. So if your bins are wet, mine usually tend to be a little bit wet, because I run them that way, because I prefer them to be a little bit wet. But by the time they get through the bottom, they've dried out quite a bit, and so it's not a problem. If you're running like these standard, like those 15-gallon totes, those very easily get wet. And so you want to be careful. You want to dry them out a little bit before running them on here. Otherwise it will clog up all these little, so if you look, there's all sorts of little pores. It will clog them, and then you're going to have problems. So make sure you have dry bins if you're going to use this type of sifter. Otherwise, something like a trommel with the spinning sifters work fine for wetter bins. Because they kind of spin the moisture out of them and dry as they go, and they're less likely to be clogged. But yeah, that's the way this one works. So relatively simple design. It just shakes it. You take scoopful, Put it in there, sifts out all the good stuff, gets rid of all the bad, sends all the bad down. And then I will show you the sifted castings. So underneath, the big stuff goes over there. The stuff with cocoons goes in this area. We jumble it all together, toss it back into one of the CFTs, and then the castings go in here. And these are perfectly sifted, ready to go. And so this will fill up quickly. Sometimes I'll sift them twice if I'm real busy and not doing a good job of pulling stuff out. But these are basically ready to go. We let them age for probably a week or two, just to make sure. We'll sift it again to make sure that no cocoons, no worms got out into the sifted castings, and then they're ready to go. So I'm going to go through this whole tray and I will show you how many castings we get out of it. When all is said and done, we have a giant pile of castings. So that's probably 5-10 pounds, thereabouts, something like that. So I'm going to sift this one more time. We'll add to this. We'll get it weighed. I can weigh it right now, actually. Let's see what it weighs. Okay, so we tared the scale down to 0, so this container weighs 3 pounds. So this was at 7 pounds 14 ounces. So this weighs 4 pounds 14 ounces. And you can see how awesome these castings are. So this is exactly what I'm looking for. Nice powdery castings. So pretty awesome. And those are ready to go. So we got, let's say 5 pounds, because that was 4 pounds 13 ounces. Yeah. So times 4, so let's say 20 pounds per CFT per week. So that's 100 pounds a week of just finished castings. And we feed them, let's say we feed them 50 pounds a week, 50 to 100 pounds a week. Yeah, probably 100 pounds a week, because we're collecting about 500 pounds a week. So what that means is that this leftover is the balance, which isn't that bad. But let's look at this stuff. Let me pull it up here. Okay, let's take a look. So we have pumpkin seeds. Take a while to break down. Those green compostable bags take a while for the worms to break down. We have a husk of something that is I think that's an avocado pit. Those take forever. What else? Chicken bones. That's going to take a while. More chicken bones. And the rest of this is like really, really close. See, these are the things that are inside your coffee cups. See, there's the bottom of the cup. So those will never break down. The cellulose fruit stickers, those will never break down. Eggshells, those will take another pass. Sticker, that's going to take another pass. That's just a shell of something, maybe a gourd. That might be part of that gourd that I had trouble with. But then it's good. It's just, I have no idea what that is. It's probably the side of it. Yeah, it's a gourd. It just takes a bit. And I mean, the rest of this is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just slightly too big for sifting. So what I'm going to do is I have separate bins that I put sifted castings in through to get them through like that final push. So we have some worms that are I don't know, used to more difficult stuff. And we don't put them through CFTs, we put them through the traditional 2-tier bins, and they will sift through these, and then in a couple weeks or a month, it'll be ready to go. So, not bad. I have a lot more sifting to do today, so I will get to that. We don't really see any cocoons in here, or I don't. Usually because they've already hatched by the time they get through the bin that far. I can show you if we dig in the CFT. So you can see, I mean, these are basically finished castings too. But if we dig a little bit, I'm sure we'd be able to find some cocoons. Full onion. So remember a couple weeks ago I mentioned putting a full onion in here? There it is. And you see how it was surrounded by worms? So don't believe the internet hype. Onions are fine. All right. On to the task at hand. Let's see, there's a whole bunch of worms. I am sure there are cocoons in here. I'm just not finding any. With the naked eye, it's a little tough. I don't see any. I know they're there. These guys are breeding. Let's see, there's more guys over here. Come on, guys. Give me your babies. Oh man, so many worms. They're all in a cob. Corn cobs, those also take forever. I think, is that one right there? That might be one. I don't know. No, I don't think it is. Come on, I'm just here for your babies. Give them to me. So we're digging through everything here. My goodness. I don't know. So I will end it there. Hope you enjoyed the sift video. Yeah, I think 20 pounds from one CFT on a weekly basis isn't too bad. We'll see what this weighs and then get this into a bin to get it sifted down and maybe pull out, you know, like this stupid little plasticky stuff that somehow got shredded in there. Pull that stuff out of there, pull the stickers out of there, re-sift it in a month, and then that'll take care of the rest of it. So there you go. All right, thanks for watching. So in the interest of fun, I got Easter egger and olive egger chickens a few months ago, and they just started laying. So I wanted to show you what an olive egger egg looks like, and you tell me if you would ever buy this. Ooh, if you would ever buy this in a store. So that's a regular egg. That's an olive egger, kind of a sickly green looking color, kind of like the yolk when you hard boil it. We're not selling them right now because the first one we got was pretty gross. This one's a little bit nicer. But you can see the variety of colors we have, and that olive egger just really looks icky. Best thing about dropping an egg, put it right in the worm bin, because they'll eat it. Cool.